Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 128 of the Dudes and Beer podcast. I am Chris Jordan, your host. With me tonight, as always, is the stalwart Stephen Bishop, as well as our special guest, Mr. Michael Cargill, who is owner of Central Texas Gun Works, as well as a CHL instructor here in the state of Texas, head of the Austin Log Cabin Republicans, as well as head of Texas Accountable Government. We'll be talking about all of those things, as well as the recent Las Vegas shooting, the laws regarding purchasing guns in America, transferring guns, even like, you know, the bump firing that was apparently done by this gentleman, which Michael had a great video that broke that down that we posted on the Dudes and Beer Facebook group. Yeah. And we're all about this kind of conversation here. This is an ongoing issue in America. And to talk to somebody like Michael about this, who has an intimate knowledge of gun law, gun regulation in America,
get the facts,
is an absolute honor and privilege. So thank you very much for taking the time to come out here tonight, especially on such short notice.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, most definitely. And I mean, I met you years ago, like I said, whenever I was on broadcast. And you have such an intimate knowledge about all of this stuff that I was like, if there's one person that I want to have on to talk about this, it's Michael Cargill, because, you know, there's been a lot of talk in the media about automatic weapons, things like that, even assault weapons. And it's one of those situations of when you're talking about that, when you start using that terminology, it's really a wrong terminology to be using. So let's start there, because that was something that right up around a year ago, the Pulse nightclub shooting happened. And that was something that we were heavily involved with the discussion of that night, because they kept saying an assault rifle was used, an assault rifle was used. And when you use that rhetoric, when you use that terminology,
they always like that terminology.
Well, and because it's a misunderstanding, it's a misnomer. People think that AR-15, that AR stands for assault rifle. Right. It does not.
Right.
Let's start there with the definition and the difference between an assault rifle, a semi-automatic rifle, and a fully automatic rifle.
Absolutely. So the things that you can walk into a gun store to purchase and to walk out with just a simple background check is going to be your semi-automatic firearms. So most of your handguns are semi-automatic. Your rifles are semi-automatic. That means you walk into a gun store, you fill out a 4473, you fill out all the information there. The gun store would then either call or type in that information into the NICS system, the National Instant Criminal Check Background Check System. And then the FBI will either tell them proceed, delay, or deny. Proceed, out you go with that firearm. Delay, you have to wait 3 business days, or denied, and you are not allowed to get that firearm.
Yeah.
How quickly can you get a proceed?
It happens pretty quick. So it will happen within a matter of seconds. So you can walk into a gun store, spend 5 minutes. You know, you're probably going to spend the majority of your time filling out the paperwork.
Yep.
If you don't know what you want. And that's it. The background check is just that quick.
It is literally, it's no different than walking into the DMV and getting a license. It is literally
that's
that
pretty
quick.
fast.
It's actually a lot faster than
system.
DMV.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I'm a firearm owner. I've purchased more than one in my life. I've purchased them at pawn shops. I've purchased them at local vendors. I purchased them at Academy Sporting Goods.
Shame on you.
And I'm sorry.
No offense there.
It was on special, and
Academy.
you know, hey, it was a shotgun for my wife, and it's a Mossberg Junior.
Shockwave.
Yeah. She's a tiny little lady.
Shockwave.
So it was one of those, like, you know, hey, she needs a junior size. You know, like she can't handle a full-on barrel in the house.
The Red
That's
Ryder BB
trying
gun.
to swing a 2-foot barrel in the house through a doorway could be a little bit hard should things arise in a self-protection situation.
Absolutely.
And that was my educated purchase on that end. But there is a specific definition of semi-automatic is literally as fast as you can pull the trigger.
Actually, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly
it's-
that. So
it's-
you pull that trigger. Each time you pull the trigger, the gun will actually fire.
Yes.
And then you have automatic where you hold the trigger down,
Exactly.
and then it will actually fire. So da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
So it's very
Exactly. And
Very
on a
distinctive
semi-auto, every time you pull the trigger, it fires and rechambers around. And then you have to pull again to repeat the process.
Right.
On a fully auto, all you have to do is pull that trigger and it keeps going. On an assault rifle,
Correct.
you have a selective rate of fire.
Right.
Which means, and that's like what most military carries, that kind of stuff, where you have a selective rate of fire between single or 3-round or 5-round bursts.
And we've done a great job of educating the media this go around, because usually the media comes out and they say assault weapons, assault
Exactly,
weapons.
exactly.
And really, it's either going to be a semi-automatic or
a fully
a
automatic.
full automatic.
Yeah.
And so in this particular case here, this guy, what I believe, he actually, and what's coming out today, used bump fire,
Yes.
which means he used a semi-automatic rifle with bump fire technology.
And that was the video that you posted last night that I shared to the Dudes and Beer group. That I was like, this guy is making a great break, because I used to do that with my friend's semi-auto 22 rifle.
Right.
You know, like it all it takes is proper holding of it and
You don't even
cradling
really-
it right.
Don't
for
even
the-
need a technology thing.
No,
right?
no,
Yeah.
you don't need to alter the trigger. You don't need to get a shave down anything. And it's one of those that with proper training, you can do it with just about any semi-automatic rifle.
Right. A lot of your experts were coming out and they were saying that it's possibly, this guy had an automatic weapon. And that wasn't the case at all. The reason I said that, and I actually got my first phone call about 6:30 a.m. the morning of the shooting for one of the news stations.
Yeah.
And they asked me to come down to the station to do an interview.
Exactly.
So I, woke up and I said, well, what's going on? They told me what's going on.
Yeah, because you had just marched in the Pride Parade and things like that that
so I was
day.
tired.
Exactly.
Hungover.
Yeah, a little bit.
Lit.
A little bit.
3 sheets to the wind.
A little bit.
Right. I was gone. Okay.
The way you should be.
A proper Austin parade.
On a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Right. So, or Sunday night, whatever it was.
You were primed up.
I was liquored up. Like the Travis County DA's office, drunk.
Damn. And we just had Dean Larinaga. He was in studio last week. He's one of our regular listeners.
What's
He's
up?
like, shotguns are just good for intimidation tactics when someone breaks in. It's a FU noise when you load the shotgun. And that's absolutely true. It doesn't matter what
That's a good
language
one,
you
Dean.
speak. Everyone speaks the language of a shotgun slide.
Absolutely.
But you were saying you were invited to come onto the TV show and talk about the situation at hand. Go on with that.
Right. So they woke me up at 6:30 and said, hey, Mike, we got this shooting in Las Vegas. We'd like you to come into the studio and tell us, what's going on. What are we hearing? And so I got up, got dressed. Literally, I just threw my clothes on, didn't even buckle up, put my shoes on all the way until I got into the parking lot. And then when I got there, they played the tape for me. I listened to it. I said, that doesn't sound automatic to me.
Yeah.
Because
It doesn't have the clack, clack,
little pause in
Exactly.
between shots. It wasn't a complete, what was
Cycle.
on top of each other.
Exactly.
each shot.
There's a cycle that happens with an automatic.
Correct.
There's that distinct clack, 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 clack that happens with the receiver.
And plus, you're hearing echo.
Yeah.
There's echo off the different buildings.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, that's a little pause there between the shots. And then
Yeah.
I'm also hearing the echo in there also. I said, that's got to be bump fire or something like that.
Yeah.
And
And
looks like
you
that's what
called
it is.
that hands down.
You
And-
nailed it right on.
Yeah.
And everyone nowadays, they use ARs. They either use an AR-15 or AK-47.
Yep.
People don't get too complicated.
No.
So it's gotta be
it's because they're commonly available. The rounds are commonly available. Everything else, we have no idea of this gentleman's intentions right now, and that's one of the most disturbing things to me. I'm not a big fan of our president, what have you, but The one thing that I will laud him for is that he is delaying the call of terrorism, because terrorism, by definition, means that you are using violence or force to get across your political ideal.
Honestly, a lot of things about this are not adding up for me.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Go ahead
I
with
agree.
that, Michael. Go ahead.
Because they're saying it came from the 32nd floor.
Yep.
But then when I see a video from a taxi cab driver, I'm seeing something on a different
Not just
floor.
that, there's one from CNN. There's one from CNN Live where it actually shows fire from the 4th or 5th floor.
Right.
You know,
So
and
there's a problem with that. And also, someone said that there were two people at the beginning of 45 minutes before the shooting started saying, "Hey, you guys need to get out of here.
Yeah.
You're all gonna die in 45 minutes." So something's going on there.
There's
then
something that didn't jibe him for sure.
And I asked myself,
Totally agree.
why would this guy need 20-something firearms?
And how the hell did he get it in there?
And
You don't
different-
need that many guns.
different No, you need one gun and a whole lot of rounds.
Yeah, right. So I can see you have maybe two, maybe three, in case the barrels get too hot,
Sure.
and then you have a certain amount of ammunition.
But even at the same time, logically you would have a repeat of the same firearm,
It's too much.
so that you're using the same ammunition.
Right, it's just too much. So
And he's using it as rewards points.
so something else is going on there. So I'm very skeptical, and I'm very not. I'm curious why they're taking so long to release the information.
Yeah.
Why they didn't release that information the day of.
Even still, like to have not released any footage of him coming in the building, like typically by now, even with Omar Mateen,
Right.
especially involved with the community like you are with Log Cabin Republicans, things like that, just as well that the Pulse nightclub shooting, within 24 hours, we have footage of Omar Mateen walking into the place.
a lot of
we
information.
have
a lot of information.
We know everything about this
And
guy.
then within about 72 hours, the police put a lockdown on media requests
Absolutely.
for information.
Absolutely.
And it is one of those curious situations of typically by now, even in the Boston bombing, we had footage from security cameras out on the street and ATMs
And
of
see,
people
with this
walking
being
by.
Las Vegas has the
It's
most
everywhere.
detailed
It's
security.
everywhere.
They have the
I work
best
Las
security
Vegas.
system,
I
the
work
best
SHOT Show. I work a show that is literally right up against SHOT Show, and you as a gun store owner know that is the mecca
Yes.
of new gun technology and everything else. And it's illegal to carry a gun in a casino in Vegas.
Right.
It's nothing to see these dudes from SHOT Show walking around with their new display, because they're not going to leave it in the display overnight. They're going to bring it back to their hotel room and then bring it back.
Absolutely.
But the fact that this guy apparently got 23 rifles up through security,
That seems a little fishy on its own, too. It's like,
number one, that's some weight. If you brought him,
I have a bunch of questions.
he apparently brought suitcases up days and days and days. There were a lot of things that security-wise are just one of those, like, why would that not ring in security's head?
The big thing is, this
especially someone that's known in the hotel.
And this guy was not on anyone's radar.
Yeah,
right.
No background check.
Right.
No background at all. No.
Well, no denial of background check.
Right.
Anytime he went, it was like, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot of things.
No.
He wasn't on, in any type of group, no organization. There's nothing that sticks out about this guy at all. He didn't leave a letter, a note. He didn't contact anyone. No text messages.
Even
nothing.
Julie, who's typically here, she had a family emergency this
Julie.
evening, but she's like, they already know how much he spent gambling. They have to have the footage.
Yes.
Exactly. Like, he is known in multiple hotels to be coming. He's a big spender. He was actively using his girlfriend's rewards card.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the odd things. Like, hey, I guess maybe that's his last act of kindness. If he's planning on going out in a blaze of glory, is let me get you some crazy rewards.
You don't think
while
about
I'm
the
spending
future
$100
if you're
grand
gonna
on the
end it
weekend
tonight.
gambling.
Right.
So if you think about the fact that someone goes out and spends $160,000 in a weekend gambling in Vegas, it may not be that difficult or beyond reach to think that his girlfriend, who's off in the Philippines, maybe sent $100,000 to have her weekend. Mm-hmm. That's not beyond reason to me. But what's there for me is the fact of, like, consider the case of affluenza in Dallas. with the young kid who got off with drunk driving and stuff like that because he was just so rich he didn't know better. Like this has to be the worst case of affluenza ever. Like this is a man who had no religious affiliation, no political affiliation that we really know of.
Right. The fix is in.
And it's literally like, oh my God!
Not even leave us a hint
it makes
on
no
what.
sense.
And even his brother is like, we're aghast. We have no idea what to do.
The brother's interview.
How many mass murderers call up the week or so beforehand to make sure their mom's all right?
The only thing they can find out, the only dirt they have is that his dad was on the FBI wanted list for 8 years for bank robbery.
I saw that. Yeah.
His dad was a known bank robber at one time and known to be an armed and dangerous person. Died in like the mid-90s.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Nothing at all.
That's the dad.
But this guy is literally like multi-millionaire, like investor in real estate and accountant. Makes no sense whatsoever.
Why would you kill innocent people?
Has no history of mental illness. Has no history of being on medications.
Right.
His divorce did happen, but it was like back in the mid 90s.
And here's what
after 6 years of marriage.
When I look at this and I look at the fact that there were 20 something odd guns there, that tells me that multiple people were supposed to be there. That's what sticks out to me.
Yeah.
Multiple people. Yeah. Because one person is not going to need that many firearms.
No. Well, and it's also, I saw something especially with the bump fire of, like I said, I bump fired at 22. 22 ain't got a whole lot of kick. You're lucky you can bump fire to begin with.
Just shooting rabbits?
However, no, we were just shooting them out in the dirt out near the bayou. like punk kids are known to do. But whenever you're talking about especially a fully automatic rifle or even a bump-fired rifle of that caliber, that takes some pretty good stamina. The number of rounds he was pumping out for a 65-year-old, like I don't go to the gym. I don't have any training.
I call bullshit
to do something like that.
This thing stinks so bad.
It's a little odd. It's a little weird.
It is.
And like, I'm not saying it's beyond the realm of comprehension, but he definitely was not firing for
a haystack.
Number one, you don't bump fire or auto fire for accuracy.
Right.
Period. You auto fire or bump fire for intimidation, laying down of lead, and mass carnage.
And a lot of people are confused about the fact, well, how can you get automatic weapons? Well, the way you do that is...
Yes, let's talk about that.
You actually identify the firearm that you want. For one, it's got to be after a certain year.
Yes.
You can't just say, hey, I want to turn my AR-15 into automatic. It doesn't happen that way. It has to be pre-1968, right? So once you have that particular firearm that you...
1968?
Yeah, I believe that's the year.
Oh.
Don't get me wrong. I've had a couple drinks
It's right up around there.
Right.
Because the original laws went through in the 30s. That's what got rid of things like Tommy guns, stuff like that.
Correct.
And then there was the laws, like I said in my posts, that these laws have been on the books for like 20, 30 years.
Absolutely. So once you've identified the firearm, you pay for it. It goes to a gun store, and you fill out your Form 4, and then to have that firearm transferred to you, you're going to get your fingerprints taken, your photo taken. You're going to pay a $200 fee.
Yep.
That paper is going to go to the ATF. The ATF is going to approve that. Once they approve that in 6 months to a year, then you can get your hands on
Not only that, but isn't it also the case that in a transaction such as that, it's almost the same as obtaining a suppressor or that kind of item where you actually have to like have a letter of recommendation from a magistrate, something like that.
Right.
Where that it sets forth the fact that you're a good citizen, you're a person in good standing.
Well, actually, it's the same background check you get when you walk into the gun store or buy any other gun.
Okay.
There's no different background check.
Okay.
So only thing different about this is you're paying a $200 tax. Okay. $200 tax.
Yeah.
And
not a tax stamp.
Right, you're paying a $200 tax.
Yeah.
What you're doing, you're getting a stamp,
sure,
but you're paying that fee, and then you're also getting your fingerprints taken and your photo taken.
Yeah.
To get that fire, and it's registered.
Yeah,
that is the one item that is registered.
And now it's automatic. Right. You're saying
correct. And that goes for your automatics, your suppressors, your short barrel rifles, your short barrel shotguns, your AOWs, any other weapons. Those things there.
Yeah,
so they're actually registered.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like a lot of people, and Julie was just saying that yes, the suspect in Vegas did have a slip and fall case in casino a few years ago and may have been super pissed. He could have been, but he'd stayed in the casino. Apparently,
we're
he'd
gonna affect
still
over 1,000 people's lives.
Yeah,
even afterward, he stayed in the casino as a high roller. People were extraordinarily polite to him. They saw him all the time. He was a regular in these casinos,
right.
Which is one reason why you wouldn't raise any suspicion, of course.
Right,
much like Omar Mateen being a regular at Pulse nightclub.
Yes.
He would be like, I worked security, I worked clubs, I worked in the rock and roll scene for 20 years of my life. And
you know your big spending customers.
Well, you know your customers, you know your people.
Yeah.
That's the people you're just like, yeah, man, what's up? How you doing? Come on in.
Right.
You know? And when you're seen regularly, that kind of stuff can easily slip through security.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, hell, I stay at the Palazzo whenever I'm working in Vegas. And
this guy's a regular, so he's
exactly.
And the reason I say he's a regular because he's on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay. You're on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay. You just don't walk in and say, "Hey, I'm a millionaire. I want to spend $10,000." You don't get on the 32nd floor that way.
No.
You got to be a high roller.
Yeah.
You're a type of person.
No, those are comp rooms. Those are comp
correct.
rooms.
Wow.
So
exactly.
There's a lot going on there.
Exactly, and it's
a lot.
It's really odd, and to me, especially going into gun regulation, because like I said, I'm a gun owner. I've had to pass the background checks. I've had to go through that. And I fully intend to be coming into. Like I said, I saw some fantastic things on your website the other day. So I fully intend to be coming in soon.
And a lot of people don't know that on our website, the firearms are actually cheaper on the website than they are inside the store.
Oh wow!
Inside the store, you mark things up a little higher. On the website,
well, sure, you have to pay for employees.
Well, yeah. What happens is
store space.
You make that order. And then our orders come from different locations. We have like 6 or 7 different locations around the country they're coming from. So once a particular location gets to a point where it's free shipping, then I go ahead and release that information. I'll release that shipment from that location. And it ships to the store and it keeps our prices down.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I tell people it takes 7 to 10 business days to get there.
Sure. And,
And the background check works the same way online, right?
Yes, same background check. You buy the gun online. You're still going to go into a gun store, fill out the form.
Oh, okay. So you still have to be present.
It will be there present in the store for you to pick up, but you still have to go through the background check before you can take it out the store.
There's no loophole into buying guns online.
Exactly. And, that's something that I want to talk about. That's something that I want to get into is the loopholes because, it's odd because there are federal regulations, state regulations.
Correct.
And the two kind of in the twain meet, but not necessarily. Because, like I said, in Vegas, hey, you can open carry in a casino.
Right.
You can go out and you could walk in with a wad of $100,000 and go, I like this store. Put it all in my truck.
Your Texas handgun license is actually recognized in Nevada.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, it is. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. I want to get into CHL. I want to get into the concept of open carry and the regulations behind that because, believe it or not, folks, you can't just go out to a pawn shop, buy a gun, and strap it on your hip.
Right.
It does not work that way.
Not
That's it's a huge misconception, and so many people have a misconception about the actual gun laws that are in place. Not only that, but the fact that, like we were saying, I posted on somebody's timeline the other day just this random thought. Maybe you can ring in on it as a gun shop owner, seller, transfer, and CHL teacher. At one point you could go back in the, like we said, the 60s, stuff like that. You could go out and buy an automatic firearm at the corner store, at the gun store, stuff like that. Why is it that we didn't have instances of mass shootings like that going on at the time?
True that.
When you could go out and buy one legally. And they were much more prevalent in the public market than they are now. And now they are so regulated, and we do know exactly who owns them.
Correct.
Unless purchased on the illegal market or obtained illegally.
Correct.
Which many of these firearms are in these cases. But I just don't understand the logic behind how when they were available to the general public,
we didn't have the issue.
We didn't have the issue, and now for some reason we do in this society, where some people think that this is the solution to go to.
Whenever you start regulating something, then it goes into the black market, and people want to get their hands on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like prohibition.
Yeah.
You know?
If it was available to everyone, then it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
You know? And back, when we were, old dark, whatever, 19, whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone, we actually taught firearm safety in schools.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. So there's no shooting team or anything like that.
We had ROTC in schools,
Correct.
Stuff like that, and they absolutely taught riflery and things.
But you don't
like that
have shooting teams like you did
No.
back then, and so now it's this hush hush thing, and now violence it's even more.
Well, and even Dean Larinaga just chimed in right here. Background check doesn't matter when you have Joe Douchebag at a gun shows selling guns illegally in the parking lot, or the Jack store owners selling excess stock of recall firearms so as not to lose product on the black market.
Okay, here's how that works.
And that's just it. They're like I said, that's illegally obtained stock. That's illegally obtained firearms. Go ahead with
a
what you
person
were
can
gonna
sell
say,
a
Mike.
gun inside in the parking lot of Walmart. You can sell one of your guns to this gentleman right here in the parking lot of Walmart. You can do
Absolutely.
a private sale.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that anywhere.
But that is not a legal transfer of a firearm.
That's not illegal. But see, here's the problem. Okay, gun store owners, no matter where they do their business, they have to do a background check. As a gun store owner, I sell a gun in a gun show, I still have to do a background check in the gun show.
And
So
you
it
have
doesn't
mobile
matter.
systems. You pay for an internet connection
Correct.
drop to do all
You
that.
got to
kind
do
of
a
stuff.
background check, because if
That's
you
it.
don't, then that's a felony. So
Yeah.
there's no gun show loophole.
Yeah, not as far as a vendor, but when you're talking out in the parking lot, when you're talking a private,
That's not a gun
sale,
show. The parking
No,
lot's
it
not a
isn't.
gun show.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, that's
It didn't.
kinda
It didn't
Right.
admit, and that's just it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Is that, and sure, in a lot of states, you can absolutely go into a gun show and you can buy multiple firearms from multiple dealers, things like that. What is the limit in Texas? If somebody was to come into Central Texas Firearms today and say, "What's that?"
Central Texas Gun Works.
Is Central Texas Gunworks. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
If they were to come in there today, how many firearms could they legally purchase in the state of Texas?
You can buy as many as you like, but here's the kicker to it. Because we're in Texas and we actually border Mexico, if you walk into a gun store in Texas and you buy 2 handguns or more in a 5-day period, 2 long guns or more in a 5-day period, then that gun store has to fill out a form and turn it into the FBI and also the chief law enforcement officer in the county where you live.
Exactly.
That's 2 handguns or more in a 5-day period, 2 long guns or more in a 5-day period. They have to report you to the FBI and the chief law enforcement officer. On that form, it tells them everything about you. Everything.
Yeah.
Including the make, model, serial number of that gun.
Yep.
So in that case, then that information goes forward. But if you only buy one gun, once every 2 weeks or whatever, then that information is not relayed.
Yeah.
Unless that gun's found in a crime or stolen.
Exactly. And
Wow.
that's just
Wow,
it. Like a
that's
lot of
some
people
good
don't
stuff.
realize. And we had a couple great questions from Dean and Julie. Dean asked, does Texas not have a gun law preventing the sale or trade of firearms without a license?
No. You don't need a license in order to sell a gun to
Because
a private sale.
it's your own private property.
And here's why. People need to understand when it comes to private sales, think of it like this. All right, convicted felons. Let's say you did something, you were convicted of a felony 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe a certain amount of marijuana.
Yeah.
And it's a felony.
Yep.
Well, because of that felony 20, 30 years ago, you will never be able to
Purchase a firearm legally.
from a gun store.
Yes.
Okay. But in Texas, as a private sale or as a gift, you can get a firearm and have it at home, only at home for personal protection after 5 years if you're a convicted felon.
Yeah.
Right. So after 5 years as a convicted felon, you can have a gun at home for personal protection.
Yeah.
You cannot go to the gun store. You cannot go to the gun range. You can't go practice with it
You
unless
can
you have a range
never
on your.
obtain a CHL.
You can't get a license unless you have a gun range on your property. You can't practice with it.
Yeah.
That's how that works. So when it comes to universal background checks,
Yes.
if they were to pass universal background checks, that means that person that was convicted of that felony 30 years ago, that person will never be able to own a gun. They have not paid their debt to society. They have not paid the price for that conviction 30 years ago. They are not going to be forgiven.
Wow,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
and that's not right.
Well, that's
not right.
Which
That
sets
is
up,
not right.
especially when a lot of people are convicted of simple
Jeez,
felony,
that is
especially,
hard.
and and it gets into a lot of complications like that. It gets into a lot of complications.
Because what's the purpose of actually people going to jail? Why send a person to jail?
Exactly.
Why punish them if they're never going to be forgiven for that crime?
Exactly.
At that point, and we brought that up more than once on this show.
It's supposed to be rehabilitated.
It's the fact of you are null and voiding the concept of the rehabilitation system in America.
So that's why I am against universal background checks.
And
you're never forgiven for
Julie
your crime.
brings up or attempted murder with a firearm, and that was something that Stephen brought up earlier. Someone charged with domestic violence, things like that. What are the rules regarding firearm purchase for someone charged with violent crimes such as that? And they're deemed violent crimes.
I know our friend, he didn't get a felony or anything, but yeah, he had domestic violence and was wondering if he could still legally.
So under the federal law, so if you're a convicted felon, you cannot own a firearm.
Yep.
If you've been convicted of a domestic violence, you cannot own a firearm.
Yeah.
If you're unlawfully and here's for those states that like Colorado, who've legalized marijuana, or California and let's say you have a marijuana card.
Yeah.
Well, if you're addicted to a controlled substance, which is marijuana, you cannot buy a firearm from a gun store.
That's right. Not a lot of people.
But you can go to the gun show.
Not a lot of people realize that.
I shouldn't have said that.
Not a lot of people realize that because once you're on that list, and it's interesting because there are now like commercials on TV and stuff where it's like, do you suffer from PTSD? Do you suffer from this? Call this number and get federal help. And it's like, dude, as soon as you call that number, you're going to be on a list and you will never be able to own a firearm.
And you have some states that are saying, hey, when you go to the doctor can ask you about this. They can ask your kids, are there any guns inside the home? Is this going on? What's going on inside the home?
There are some odd things like
that same system that they're putting that information in is being tied into somewhere.
Even when it comes to, like we said, laws regarding automatic weapons, laws regarding assault weapons, because like we said, the only people that have assault weapons are like high-end police officers, SWAT teams, stuff like that. And we know that a few years ago, DHS was given like huge purview to be able to sell backstock of armory and things like that to local police forces, all kinds of stuff.
And also,
it's out there.
Like, do you know anyone that's gone into the military?
Yes.
And have they been released from the military in dishonorable conditions? If they have, they cannot buy a gun from a gun store.
Absolutely true.
Oh, dang.
Absolutely true.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. And
so if you messed up while you're in the military, that time frame you're in the military, you messed up 40 years ago.
Well,
50 years ago.
And even
then,
when you're talking about, and Julie says, I feel good about all that, not weed convictions or use, but violent felonies.
No, Julie. There's no exception. You can't weed out weed. No. Weed included. So sorry, you can't pick and choose. We don't pick and choose here. I'm sorry, they cannot get a firearm.
Well, and it's the fact of it. Like she says, people with violent felonies, like domestic abuse, makes utter sense. If you have been convicted of a violent felony.
Think about that, Julie. Let's think about that.
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So here's what that means. All right. So let's say I'm 16 years old. Okay, and I have a 15-year-old girlfriend, and we had sex, and their parents found out. Guess what?
You are now on the sexual offenders list.
That is correct. I will never be able to own a gun.
You will never be able to own a pistol.
Whoa.
Or firearm of any sort.
For consensual sex.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have a nice day. You're done forever.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, and
that's hardcore.
So remember what you say is okay.
Yeah. And
forever. Forever means forever.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, and at that point, you are technically talking about a removal of rights.
So, Julie, I hope you didn't have sex when you were under 17.
Well, technically, it would be her boyfriend, not her.
It could be her.
Depending on the state. She lived in Massachusetts at that time.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Well, no, she may have been in Dallas.
What about that Romeo Juliet law? Never mind.
But and despite that, talking about regulations of semi-automatic or fully automatic assault rifles, even high-capacity magazines. Like, I'm a Cajun,
You are?
I was, yes.
Oh my God.
I say it all the time. I was literally brought up hunting. Like the gun was a tool for survival, and and true, Julie, 1615 is not statutory. 1815 is.
Oh yeah,
you want to bet? You want to bet?
Yeah, you want to bet?
But
we do.
you know, for me, it was one of those like I remember learning to shoot when I was like 7, 8 years old, and being taught the responsibility of a firearm.
Hey, Julie, when you're well, you probably didn't have cell phones back then, but I tell you what, send a picture. Let's see what happens when a 16-year-old sends a picture of themselves to another 16-year-old. Tell me what naked. Tell me what happens.
Yeah,
You're done forever.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and there are all kinds of laws.
Done.
There are all kinds of laws like that have been passed over the last many years because of cyber crimes.
You're done forever.
Because
that's all of our millennial. Those millennials.
Well, it's all
that little mistake that you don't think about.
It's
because
all
you're going
of
to
high
send
technology.
a picture of yourself naked to someone else who's the same age as you. You're both minors. You're done forever.
Done forever.
Because you land on an
Forever means
offender's
forever.
list. Because you land on an offender's list.
No gun for you.
And you know, it is the fact.
And what about those things you say on Facebook, on Twitter? You say, those little things you say like, whose phone's ringing? Yours? Okay. Those little things that you say on Facebook, you know, where you know what? I'm so pissed off at the United States, I'm gonna move to Canada.
Right.
You renounce your citizenship. You cannot buy a gun from a gun store.
I
You
literally
renounce your citizenship.
I was banned from Facebook all of a week or so ago for putting some stuff up. It happens, and you know, for me,
but
though,
we don't make statements like that.
It really does come down to the fact of laws have already been passed for the federal restriction of automatic firearms, for the federal restriction of assault rifles, for the federal restriction of high-capacity magazines. And like I said, being brought up as a Cajun, it was one of those, the gun was a means of survival. It was a means of gathering food. You didn't point a gun at something.
Honestly, even still today. Let's be honest with each other. Okay. Let's say I want a Lamborghini, and that Lamborghini goes 275 miles an hour.
One did pass me about that speed yesterday.
That the speed limit, you know, the fastest speed limit in Texas is 85 miles an hour. So there's no way that I should be able to go faster than 85. But I want to get that car anyway because it goes 275 miles an hour.
Right, you just want to have it.
Right, because I want to have it. Timothy McVeigh. Yep. Let's talk about that. You know, a lot of people, you know, are so shocked by what happened in Las Vegas. Right. But here's what they don't want to talk about. They don't talk about the fact that Timothy McVeigh killed over 168 people. Well, maybe not him. Maybe it's a conspiracy. But the Oklahoma City bombing. Let's talk about that.
Him and more than one person.
The Oklahoma City bombing, 168 people were killed, were murdered.
Yeah.
You know, over 600 people were injured. And that was the worst massacre of individuals that we've seen, you know, in modern times. Yep. So this shooting that we witnessed this week is not the worst.
No.
It comes close, but it's not the worst.
Right.
And he did that with a rental truck and fertilizer. Everything that you can purchase at Home Depot.
And some fuel oil.
Right.
Some kerosene.
Everything you can purchase.
And that was one thing that came out, was that they apparently found some ammonium nitrate in the trunk of his car in the parking garage. And granted, the term explosives being found at his house.
You start outlawing this shit.
They said that they found another 19 guns, thousands of rounds of ammo, and explosives at his house. Technically, that could just be like a can of black powder.
So before we get on this high and mighty kick and decide that we're going to start barring firearms or banning firearms, think about that. Yeah. You know what? The worst massacres that we've ever experienced was the Oklahoma City bombing, which was a rental truck and fertilizer.
Yep. Yeah. Well, not just that, but look at the fact of the DC sniper. Look at the fact of the Dallas sniper. here recently within the last couple years, even Omar Mateen, San Bernardino, stuff like that. These are normal, average, everyday people. Now, granted, Omar Mateen was on the FBI watch list not once, not twice, but thrice. How he ended up getting a friggin' firearm.
I remember that one.
And becoming a security officer, carrying a gun.
And becoming an armed security officer.
And also get a handgun license.
Lord only knows.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with the system.
That's
There
something
you
wrong
go.
with
Don't
the
blame
system.
me, blame the system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't
And that's-
blame me, blame the FBI.
Well, blame the FBI who utterly failed in
we
that
said that
case
last
in
time.
Florida.
When that happened, yeah.
And blame the system of handgun permit checks.
Because the
in
information is
Florida.
there.
Yeah. Oh, no. And granted, the first gun store that he went to, that doesn't happen every couple months. It's absolutely tragic.
Well, actually, you want to check around the world in other countries? Yeah.
Yeah, it
Bombings
does.
do happen a
Just
lot.
not
Yeah.
here, maybe.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
here in the United States, but they do have a lot of
Not
bombings
just
because
that.
they can't get access to firearms, so they find other things because they want to kill a lot of people.
Find other
So they
means.
bomb them all the
So
time.
it doesn't matter what you kill a person with, and you're going to ban that thing. You're just going to keep going. Okay, let's bomb the U-Haul
Well, and-
truck. Let's ban the fertilizers. Let's ban.
When you do
Right.
look at
So you find those other countries out there, and you say, well, they don't have gun crimes.
Yeah.
They don't have gun crimes because they banned guns, but they have other crimes. They have knife attacks. They have bombings. They have suicide bombings. If a person wants to do something
They're
to
gonna
you,
do it.
They're
They're gonna find a
going
way.
to
Paris.
do it. And what goes
Paris.
to a person's head
65
for them to become
people-
a suicide bomber?
65 people dead because some dude drove a Ryder truck through a crowd.
Absolutely.
Like the
Well, you gotta
crazy-
ban the trucks now.
The crazy one.
Ban trucks.
Yeah.
Ban knives.
Yeah. Well,
ban
and-
bombs.
And that's my mentality as well. Is that you can't regulate crazy.
No, you can't.
We tried it. We actively had eugenics laws in place in America until 1978. Look it up. Like if you were below a certain IQ, you were sterilized and you were not allowed to breed.
That's
that
pretty
was in
damn
place
bad.
in
That's
like
deep.
Yeah,
that was
that
in
is
place in more than 40 states, including
That's straight
Texas,
out.
until almost the 80s, folks. That is a fact. Look it up. So we tried to regulate
I ain't
crazy.
even
We
gonna
tried
comment
to
on that
regulate stuff, but we deemed it a systematic issue of human rights to do so. And it's the same thing, when, like I said, whenever you're talking commercials that talk about, call in because you've got this issue. Just like the same thing. If you I take anxiety meds. I don't know. That may affect the fact that I could get a federal gun now, but
Let me
doubt
tell you
it.
some secrets. The bottom line is the people that are anti-gun are not concerned about your personal safety. They're not concerned about people that are out there illegally getting their hands on guns. They're concerned about their narrative and pushing a certain particular narrative.
and
here's why. Here's why I say
True.
that. Because when you walk into a gun store, you can walk into a gun store and sell a stolen gun to a gun store. There's no way that gun store can verify that gun's been reported stolen.
Really?
No.
No. There's no.
You could have-
we
That's
can't run the
crazy.
serial number of that gun or anything.
You can
I've been asking
absolutely-
the Austin Police
Yep.
Department and
Yeah.
Chief Art
Acevedo.
Acevedo
Yeah.
before he left town.
Seriously.
I have several emails.
Yeah.
Several emails where I've asked him. I said, "Hey, I need help with this.
Right.
When
No way to do
someone
it.
walks into my gun store,
Yeah.
they bring a gun. They want me to work on this gun, fix this gun, repair it. They want to sell this gun to me.
You have no idea
I would
where it's
like to
been.
run the serial number of that gun to find out that that gun's been reported stolen.
Right.
There's no way that I can verify that. They
Nope.
will not assist me. The only way I can
That's
do that is they have to
crazy.
call 911 and call the police on my customer.
Yeah.
Call 911 on your customer.
Call
Yeah.
911.
And I've sold firearms.
That is so wrong.
And,
It's
and-
crazy.
And I'm here to tell you, I've sold firearms at pawn
It's
shops.
a one-way street.
I've sold firearms at pawn shops. And Chris, I don't think it will. My mom takes in anxiety meds and legally owns 3 to 5 guns. Exactly.
Oh my God.
Has she shot anyone?
Yeah. And and it is that fact of it's not extraordinarily difficult, but at the same time, there is a system in place. There is a background system check. There is a federal database.
There is an agenda and a narrative.
when
I believe,
you
being pushed.
well, sure, and like I said, the media, especially whenever they first start using terms like assault rifle.
Yeah, automatically they don't
weapon.
even know the whole story yet, and they're assault rifle
We
or
we
assault gun or something.
we don't
assault weapon.
know.
And they're really not concerned about your personal safety.
No.
Trust me, they're not. They don't care about you. They don't care about your personal safety. They care about their narrative and making sure their particular stance or their office gets in the position of power.
Granted, Michael, on
Michael
a fair
hit it dead
stance,
on.
a lot of people would almost say the same thing, like, you know, you're on the flip side of the table. You're trying to sell guns. You're trying
Actually,
to.
I'm not.
You're not.
Because here's why.
Because I know you personally and I've met you.
Here's why.
And I want you to explain that to me.
People will say that.
And to our listening audience.
I started getting into the gun business. I was actually in the military for 12 years. I actually was I owned a transportation company. The reason I got into the gun business is because my grandmother decided at 70 years old she was going to go to college to get a college degree. My grandmother had only had a high school education. So at 70, I decided, at 70, she decided she wanted to become a nurse, so she went to college. While she was traveling from a college library, sitting at a bus stop waiting for a bus to come, a guy came along, mugged her, and raped her. And I decided at that point I would make sure that every female in my family had the tools they need to protect themselves.
Yeah.
So that's why I became a handgun license instructor, and that's why I opened the gun store.
Yeah.
Now, a year ago, July 29th of this year, a year ago, in 2016, July 29th, my parents were victims of a home invasion.
Wow.
3 guys spent 45 minutes to an hour trying to break into my parents' home. My parents are retired. They live outside of Atlanta, Georgia.
That's a scary situation, my friend.
Yeah.
Yes, these guys spent there's 3 of them spent an hour to 45 minutes trying to break into their home. So they couldn't get into the first floor at all without breaking a window and making a lot of noise. They took all the screens off the windows off the first floor. They broke into the back patio. They tried to get into the back door. They couldn't get in. So then they broke into my parents' shed. This is 3 to 4 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
Broke into their shed, took everything out of the shed. They took a ladder out of the shed. They looked up because there was a window open on the second floor. The master bathroom window was open.
Wow.
So they took a ladder out, laid that ladder against the house, climbed into the master bathroom window. And so you ask yourself, well, why were they so determined to get into your parents' home? That determined they spent that long. Well, earlier that day, my parents went shopping, bought some electronics.
Yep.
They put up a new surround system.
All you got to do is have those empty boxes laying out on the curb, my friend.
Boxes
Is that what it
out
was?
to the street.
Never until the
Yes.
day that trash is picked up. Until the day trash is picked up, people.
Yeah.
Tear them up, cut them up, put them in your trash
break
can.
them down, put them in trash cans.
Whatever.
Exactly.
But
So
don't let people know that you've bought thousands of dollars worth of AV equipment.
And it's sad because they took those boxes out, and so those guys were
I gotta
determined to
hide
get
my
into that home.
time travel machine box that I
Gotta
just
hide
bought.
your trash.
Well, and it's like I was
Hide your wife, hide your kids. They get everybody.
Yeah, that's the one.
Exactly. And it's like I was telling Steve
Yeah.
before the show, my wife literally, because you guys offer, and it's something that I want my family to take, you guys actually offer close quarter Krav Maga active shooter classes.
We
where
offer a
it's
lot.
where it's how to disarm people in close quarters.
The easiest thing in the world for me to do is teach someone how to kill someone. I can do that very easily.
Oh, sure.
I can teach you within
Point and pull.
very short amount of time how to kill someone. Very easy concept. The
Or
hardest
actually
thing,
point and squeeze. I'm sorry.
the hardest thing in the world for me to do is teach you how not to pull that gun out.
Exactly.
Right, and that's
Exactly.
that's what you don't want to do.
And it's
Avoid
one of
all
those
costs.
things that, like, I love my wife, and she is a fully independent woman, and I love the fact that she works, she does what she does. But even I myself, as someone who in my Pelican, whenever I leave work, is carrying $1,000 of equipment in my Pelican, you have to be presently aware of your situation.
Yes.
You have to be ever present. And it's one of those like, hey, if you're leaving the theater at midnight on 6 in Guadalupe, you know, do you need anything more than
Don't make yourself a target.
Do you need your purse?
Right.
Or is it better for you to carry your keys in your hand and your ID and your debit card and your wallet, and that's all they get?
Right.
Or like in your back pocket.
Be
all
around
they're gonna
surroundings at all times.
That's it. And it's being proactive. It's being aware of what's going on. It's being
Don't be
aware of your
jogging.
personal safety.
Don't jog, on Town Lake and have earphones.
That's
in
been
your
in the
ear.
news the
there's
last
a
Can't
rash-
hear who's behind.
If you're gonna
you,
have
what's going on.
if you're gonna have earphones on, have one in.
Right.
Have one in.
Yeah.
Gotta
Be
aware of what's
aware
going
of
on.
your surroundings. Be aware
And
of
it's
what's going
sad
on.
that we're at that point.
We are.
It's sad.
As a society, it's a horror,
sad.
and that's just it. Like, and that's what I was bringing up earlier with the concept of, at one point, these weapons were legal, man. You could go to a store like yours and go, I need a fully auto AR. You could buy a fully auto. Why did we not have mass shootings at that time?
Right. Back then, that just means you were having a good weekend.
Think about it. The first time you ever heard it was when the term "going postal" came around.
Oh God!
When the postal worker went in the early '90s and started capping people at his job.
Right.
And that was even with a semi-automatic pistol. But it's gotten to a point now in the news where we hear about this stuff smooth on a quarterly basis. And it's horrifying. And it's not the fact of fully automatic rifles. It's not the fact of that. It is literally a fact of the mentality.
Yes.
The mentality, the place where we are at as a society, the conversation that goes on, the straight, and I mean, we're sitting here as a mixed racial group right now. Even the divide that is going on in our country right now is so deep and so dark. Like, man, this last election, like, families literally, dude, it's straight up Civil War status. Like, think about it.
Invited to
think about it. Like, at the Civil War, quite literally, families split apart and moved on different sides of the line. And, that's what we're looking at now.
Right.
Families don't talk to each other because of how they voted.
And that's sad.
It is sad because you know, where's the open discourse? And that's what that's what Dudes and Beer is about. It's right there, solving the problems 12 ounces at a time.
And actually,
it's having these hard
conversations. We need to solve the
conversations.
problem. We need to agree to disagree.
Exactly.
Hey, that's what we say.
I don't even agree with the person I sleep with.
We need to,
so I'm definitely not going to agree with you.
We need to be willing, A, to have the hard conversation. And we need to be willing, B, to reach across the table. My Thanksgiving was pretty awkward, and we had a couple bottles of wine.
Nice.
So we had a couple bottles of wine.
I can only imagine what kind of conversation started after that.
And that's what I say all the time. Is like the concept behind Dudes and Beer is the fact that the American Revolution was started by less than 15% of the population, and started by a bunch of dudes that were talking about politics, religion, economics, while drinking in a bar,
like what we do now.
And it's having those hard conversations. It's having the disagreements, but having them with an open mind.
Preach.
And let's get into a little bit of the log cabin Republicans at this point.
Absolutely.
Because it's something. have you ever seen? I meant to bring a clip of it. Are you a fan of Key and Peele?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of my favorite sketches ever is "We're Not a Monolith." The Black Republicans, but it's true. Not many people realize that there is a large contingent. There is a large contingent of Republicans that are pro-homosexuality, that are pro-inclusion.
Yes.
That, like I said, you as head of the local log cabin Republicans march open carry at the head of the Pride Parade every year.
Absolutely.
And they're okay with you, and you're okay with them.
Well, they're not totally okay with it. In the Pride Parade, they're actually upset about the fact that I was open carry. They sent us some messages like, we just need to let you know that next year you're not allowed to open carry your handgun. But I'll see you next year. We'll see.
True. We'll see.
But
it's also the fact.
And by the way, the police officers were taking pictures with us.
But it's also the fact of you as a Republican, you as a black man in America, you see the efficacy of their part of society, of their side of the table, of their side of the argument, and the necessity of inclusion and an open-minded aspect of philosophy.
The funny thing about life is the majority of your African Americans were actually conservatives, back in the 60s. They became Democrat because of some things that something went on, and then the whole black community shifted to the Democrats because they said that, hey, we're going to give you free shit, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, we're going to make you dependent on this.
The party that
I'm going to give you
the
some little crack here, and I'll make you dependent on this and make you want me.
In which they kind of did.
Right, and so every election they promised the black community, we're going to do this for you, we're going to do that for you, we're going to make this better for you, and they don't ever do anything that make no changes at all. We need to get back back to the basics of being conservatives, and the conservative values, and that's why. I'm
and
with
explain
the
that, because a lot of people don't.
Nice.
A lot of people think conservatism in a certain way. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, what we're talking about is, for one, with me being the president of Log Cabin Republicans, we are Republicans.
Yes,
so
and give us your mission statement.
And that's I'll read that here in a little bit. But that's the foundation of that. And it's all about inclusion. It's all about the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
As far as the Log Cabin Republicans, because hey, we exist. We're here. This is not by choice. I didn't choose to be this way. I didn't wake up one morning and decide, you know what? I think I want to be gay.
Right.
I didn't, no, that never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
No,
So that's
nobody
not
just wakes up.
No one. Why would you want to put yourself through that?
Right.
It's not about that at all. This is how I am. This is what it is.
Yeah.
But I have conservative values.
True.
And so
And
that's how we live our life.
And it's interesting because you are not in reference to that sketch. You're not a monolith.
No.
I know numerous black gay Republicans.
Yes.
Who ascribe to this, who talk about it, and even here the mission
Right.
of the Log Cabin
And what people
Republicans.
don't know is we're the largest, one of the largest, gay Republican. We are the largest gay Republican organization, in this country.
Yeah.
And if you go to our website, it'll tell you Log Cabin
Yep.
Republicans is the nation's original and largest organization representing gay conservatives and allies who support fairness, freedom, and equality for all Americans. The Log Cabin Republicans has state and local chapters nationwide, with full-time staff in Washington, D.C., and federal political action committees and a state political action committee. Log Cabin Republicans are LGBT Republicans and allies who support equality under the law for all free markets, individual liberty, limited government, and strong national defense.
And
so, which is the
It's a great
basis of
mission.
which I mean, most people by all media standards, by everything that you would know of LGBTQ, that is like utter antithesis, but people don't understand the fact that there are people within that community that hold this philosophy. There are people who understand, because unfortunately it has become this rift of a divide in our country. Between, there is no more purple, man. There's no more purple.
Yeah.
It's
between.
It's red or blue.
See, yeah, it's like,
and that's it.
And what's it got to be that way? That's not really the way it is.
Well, the funny thing is, a lot of your black community, they're actually leaving the Democratic Party. They're figuring out that, these guys only come around during an election cycle and promises this and they promises that, and they never deliver. So actually finally realizing that they're full of shit, and they're actually leaving the Democratic Party. And we're seeing that in Travis County here in Austin, Texas. We're also seeing that on the national level.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to politicize this episode. I don't want to go too deep into that stuff. Right. But I do want people to understand where you come from with your stance, with your business, with what you do, and with regards to the law as far as firearms go, as far as firearms regulation goes. Because
and I'm also executive director for Texas for Accountable Government.
Exactly.
Which is now,
explain that.
That's
What's
a
that
transpartisan organization. It's not just Republicans. It's not just Democrats, not Libertarians, not just the Green Party. It's all parties, all people from all backgrounds, all walks of life.
That's what I'm talking about.
And we come together. We want to hold our government accountable.
Yes.
It's about police accountability. It's about, let's talk about the NFL protests if you want to.
Right.
With the NFL protests, a lot of
there.
people say, hey, why are these people taking a knee? Do they not respect this country?
Right.
Well, it's not about that. It's not about the national anthem. It's not about the American flag.
It is not.
It's about police accountability. It's about law enforcement who are killing people on camera.
Yeah.
On camera, in the streets of the United States, and they're not being held accountable.
That's right.
Exactly.
Not being prosecuted.
Yeah.
People say, well, hold on. Well, we're black. There's a lot of black on black crime. But you know what? that black on black crime, they're being prosecuted.
They're
going to jail.
They're
feeling the full effects of the law. They're being put underneath the jail.
We see that one.
But then when a police officer on camera, violates someone's civil rights or shoots or kills someone, they're not being held accountable. And that is what this protest is
paid
all about.
leave, and then they come back later.
Exactly. And that's just and that goes across the board. That goes beyond racial lines.
Yes.
That goes into every bit of the corruption of power that comes with being.
And it's a huge corruption because it goes from state to state.
I love my country.
Everywhere.
I love this country.
Not just one state.
I know you do.
I stand up for the American flag. I can sing the national anthem. I can play the national anthem on 3 instruments. Okay, so taking a knee is really not it's not the way I would do it. But you know what? I understand what people are doing. I respect what they're doing because you know what? I would rather them do that, take a knee, than burn down an entire neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yep.
So so people say,
or encourage
why are you not respecting the United States? Why are you not respecting our flag? Why are you respecting the national anthem? It's not about that.
Hell, the Army football team just entirely took a knee.
Thank you.
The entire Army football team just took a knee the other day. So it's like, what are you going to do? Call the Army football team unpatriotic?
Yeah. Ain't that something? Ain't that something?
And see, that's where Texas for Accountable Government comes in and says, hey, we need to hold our government accountable.
That's right.
Why aren't law enforcement officers being held accountable?
Well,
a truck driver, if a truck driver drives through downtown Austin, speeds or whatever, they're held to a much higher standard because you know why? They are a professional driver.
That's right.
But you know what? Police officers, we give them excuses.
Hey,
if
they have a tough job.
Here's the same thing.
There's a lot going on. And they have a lot to worry about. What about that phone call, that call they just came from before then? Well, what about that truck driver? He's been driving for hours. He's having to deal with traffic here, traffic here. You're cutting him off in front of his way, but we hold them to a higher standard.
And here's another prime example
absolutely
of that.
Right.
The same example of if Steven goes out and gets in a bar brawl.
The last one I lost.
I like the way you laugh really hard at that.
I laugh because Steven's so nice.
Exactly.
The last brawl I lost.
If Steve went out and got into a bar brawl and accidentally killed a man.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that would be something.
We went left real quick.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying out there.
If Steven went out and did that, involuntary manslaughter, you get a trained person who is former Special Forces, former Army, taught to kill with their bare hands, someone who is technically by law considered quote unquote a registered lethal weapon,
like a killing machine.
They have been trained to do that, and if they do the same thing in self-protection, you're looking at a murder charge.
Yes. Put underneath the jail.
You're looking at a murder charge because that person is trained not only to be able to stop you and disarm you, but they're trained to be able to kill with their bare hands.
In Texas, we call that the death penalty.
Yeah.
Ooh,
and it's happened with boxers in the past.
I was gonna say
stuff
boxers.
like that. Boxers because they're trained to hit and hit hard and hit to injure.
Don't get Mike liquored up at the bar.
No. Yeah.
But also notice the responsibility of Mike, because here's the responsibility of Mike. Mike came over this evening. Mike is having a drink. Mike is not carrying this evening.
Maybe.
Mike is not carrying this evening.
Maybe.
Mike has his shirt tucked in, and I don't see Mike carrying this evening.
Maybe.
But let's get into some of that because that was some of the video that you posted the other day.
Sure.
And as someone, quite honestly, I've got some falsies because of years of working in rock and roll and being involved in huge mosh pits and getting
and those
elbows
brawls,
thrown into
those
me,
brawls you
things
were
like
talking
that. And Julie Connolly just rang in. The truck driver's job isn't to protect and serve like the police officer. They should be the most accountable.
I disagree because here's why: truck drivers are driving a bomb. It's an 80,000-pound bomb through your city, through your town.
And it's interesting though, because one of our guests a couple weeks ago, Eddie Craig, who I know that you're aware of here in town, brought up the fact that there's a reason why they're called law enforcement officers and not officers of the law, because their job is to enforce the law despite your rights.
Yeah. It goes all the way back to way back to like 1700s.
Yeah.
Where when we you got to understand the whole purpose behind police officers was they were to go and retrieve runaway slaves.
Yeah.
That's where they came
That
from.
was their original purview.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's the mentality that we're dealing with. So it's a mentality. It doesn't matter their race. It doesn't matter if it's a white police officer, a black police officer.
No.
We're talking about a mentality
That's
because
it.
they all have that chip on their shoulders.
Yeah.
It's a mentality, and they should be held to a much higher standard.
They should be.
There
And
are a
like
lot
I
of
said,
if you look at the
It's
statistics
a higher
of tough
standard
jobs
of
out there-
responsibility of someone who's been trained in hand-to-hand combat
Yes.
to kill if need be, as opposed to me, who's just flailing. Like, hey man, I ain't taking your Krav Maga class.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just punching to my heart's
If I'm
content.
going to get someone a break, I'm going to give a school teacher a
And-
break. You
and
know
it's-
why? Because they have to put up with your kids.
And it's the same thing, and a lot of people don't realize, especially when it comes to defending your home, especially when it comes to having a CHL. Once you get a CHL, you are held to a higher standard.
a much higher standard.
A much higher standard, because you now know the legal ramifications of when and where
so we
you
hold
can use
everyone
your
else
firearm.
accountable for that except for law enforcement officers.
Yes,
Everyone,
exactly.
Everyone else is held to that standard except for law enforcement officers. They get the excuse.
Who are specifically trained to use the
Who
firearm.
absolutely know what the law is.
Yes.
We make excuses for
Well,
them.
but it's like, as Eddie Craig said, they're trained out of a field manual. They aren't trained out of the law.
And I'm not bashing law. I'm not bashing police officers.
No, absolutely not. I like I said, I worked in rock and roll for years. I have seen the necessity for them. I thank them every time I see them, the same way I thank military personnel.
Absolutely.
Because they are.
We hold the military to that same, high standard.
If I see a teacher, I thank them because they are doing a thankless job in society.
A soldier goes out in Afghanistan and kills someone, we're going to hold them to that same high standard. We're not going to we're not going to make an excuse.
No.
We're not going to say, well, you know what, they had a really rough day because earlier that day they were attacked and bombed and one of their comrades was shot and killed. I served 12 years in the Army. You're held to a high standard even in the military, but we don't do that for police officers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like that's just it.
Good damn point.
In the field of combat, there are rules of engagement. There are rules of engagement where literally, even if you're being fired upon, you may not be able to fire back
in combat
because of the legal rules of engagement.
Absolutely.
By the UN.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Exactly, my friend. And how long did you serve?
But hey,
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
But hey, and in Chicago, in LA, everywhere else, no.
Well, and that was an interesting statistic that popped up because there was something that popped up this afternoon about, the mass shooting, 59 people dead, 500 people wounded. That's an average month in Chicago.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
You look at Labor Day weekend this last year, there were like 40 people shot over Labor Day weekend.
They just caught up with Chicago for the month.
Oh my!
And that's just it. Like this is the death toll for Chicago on the regs.
Chicago says next.
And not just that.
Right.
Not just
and
that.
back to Puerto Rico.
Chicago is a banned city.
And this is news?
Chicago is a banned city. You can't own a firearm in Chicago.
Chicago says in the weather.
Yeah.
In the weather we have. We have some rain.
And that's kind of disturbing to know that that exists. That's happening. And at the same time, we choose to focus on this when the issue in Chicago, the problems going on there far exceed this one situation.
Absolutely.
Because it's happening on the regs.
That's President Obama's
It's happening
hometown.
on the regs. Yeah.
So if he really wanted to do something, you really want to do something, you could have done it in your hometown.
You could have started at home.
At home.
grassroots, the way it's supposed to be.
Not in my backyard.
Exactly. Good God.
NIMBY.
I say NIMBY all the time, and people don't understand what
Not
I
in my
mean.
backyard.
But I learned that term in 10th grade English
NIMBY?
as an acronym, NIMBY.
President
Not
NIMBY.
in my backyard.
NIMBY.
President NIMBY.
That's a good one.
And
That's a good one.
that's where
Never heard that. That's great.
NIMBY is where we get laws like, hey, you can't build that building in your backyard because you're under code
And see,
by
people,
your homeowners
the funny thing about me
association.
is I look at every situation, I remove color from it. You know, I get phone calls
Exactly.
from a lot of different people. I get phone calls from detectives. I get phone calls from police officers that are trying, or you know, district attorneys that are trying to solve
Julie,
cases. and
I've
stuff like
always
that.
wondered why you said that.
Yeah.
And you know, they ask me about particular cases, and I specifically don't want to know the color or race of an individual
No,
right,
because I
no.
want to look at the situation.
Yeah,
exactly.
I try to be as fair as possible
It's the facts.
because it's about the facts of the case.
Right.
Thank
and
you.
so I tell them, send me the information, make sure there's no color, no race, or anything
Right.
like that, so I can look at the facts of the case.
And don't you
because
know
I
they-
try to be as fair.
don't you know-
cannot fit Michael Cargill into a box. Michael
No.
Cargill is the black gay gun store in the state of Texas.
Thank
I
you.
don't fit into a box.
5 on that.
Nice, brother. I like that.
That's exactly what I said today. Like they're like if it's a box, like it's custom made, bro.
Yeah, but it doesn't fit me.
This is a custom order
Michael,
box.
I bet when you tell them
Sitting
that, they got to go back
across
through
from
that damn
And
paperwork, and they got a black mark on
It
it.
drives the city of Austin crazy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I hate him, but
Yeah.
I just hate him.
I could have easily faxed this or
You
sent
can't
this
fit
over,
me
but now
into a box.
I got to black mark this.
Well,
Don't
and
fit
that's
there.
just
I
it.
look at the situation. I'm looking at the case. I'm like, hey, if it's not right, it's not right.
Well,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's just it.
I don't care about
literally,
race. Boom.
and
I don't
like
care about color. I don't care about
I
race.
started Red Team News for the same situation. It's the fact of let's remove
Amen.
agenda, let's remove angle, let's remove all that, literally redact it like a government document from the news story and leave nothing but the facts on the page.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know from 8th grade to I didn't graduate college, folks, but I went long enough to be a doctor. But I don't know a single professor that I had that would accept 3 sources as a viable research paper. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
So if a news article is using like a source or 3 sources, like
Trust me, they don't do their homework that day.
come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, and then if
Yeah.
you look at 6 articles where you got nothing but the facts shown to you and they don't even agree, what are the actual facts at that point?
Right.
You know, and that's what you've been saying is there are some things that just don't jive, but at the same time, with the gun laws in America, there are things that just don't jive.
Yeah. The funny thing about this entire week, and it's only Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
It's only Tuesday.
It's not even Wednesday. The funny thing about this entire week is OJ got released from jail.
He did.
He's like, hey, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Juice. It's the juice. Find the juice.
Juice is loose, son.
The juice is loose.
Juice is loose.
He's like, my God, I just got out of jail. I've been there for 9 years.
Poor guy doesn't even get a headline out of
I
it.
didn't have time to be mad at anybody.
And not only that, but got out of a Nevada jail.
Yes, exactly. So
Oh my God! I didn't realize
Got
that.
out of a
Holy
Nevada
cow!
jail and doesn't even get the headline.
Oh yeah.
But
He's like, what
but-
about me?
But
racism.
to me, it's also damn you, Mark Furman. You know, to me though, especially looking at modern technology, and I posted this on somebody's timeline. I was like, you can, and we mentioned it earlier, especially with things like prohibition, gun laws going into place. It does not keep people from illegally procuring. It does not keep the backyard sale from going on. It doesn't keep the let's meet in a friggin' Motel 6 and I'm going to pay you
So
$200
basically, the
extra.
laws don't really stop it.
Well, there are those. But in addition to that, there's modern technology and there's common knowledge. When you're talking
I
about
want to do something. If I want to do it,
go ahead.
I go, steal that rental truck. I go get me some Tannerite. Get some more
Yeah.
Tannerite. Get some more Tannerite.
You
Get
can
some
go
more
to
Tannerite.
you can go to
Get some more
any
Tannerite.
academy.
Get some fertilizer. Get some more fertilizer. Get some more fertilizer. And then
We are
load
not
that truck up.
advocating anything,
Yeah.
folks. We are not telling
If
you
your
how to
person-
build
exactly.
anything.
If a person wants to do something, they can do it.
They gonna do
When
it.
it comes to automatics, you don't have to go. You don't have to go to the gun store and get a tax
No.
stamp. Why do that? You know what you do? Go online, and you can buy the trigger mechanism.
Yep.
You can buy that part piece legally, have it shipped to your house.
Yep.
You can turn any firearm out there into an automatic illegally.
And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
It's not about what I feel. It's
Right,
about
true.
this is what you can do.
Yeah.
But it's illegal, but you can
Yes.
do that
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
those same things. So people sit here and they freak out about all these different little things. If a person really wants to do something,
If
there's
the motivation
there are
is
ways
there,
to
you
do
will
it.
find the
and
means.
it's very easy. We
Yeah.
can all learn how to do it on YouTube.
Exactly.
Somebody will always
Even
find a
bump
loophole.
firing. I showed my wife last night because
Me
I
too.
was explaining it, and she was like, "What do you mean?" And I showed her a YouTube video, and she goes, "That's scary as fuck that's out there." And I'm like, "It's
Google or YouTube.
A lot of shit's out there.
It's not that hard." Like, good God, I was in 7th grade, and I knew how to make black powder.
Yeah.
It's
I got-
it's not that
I got
difficult to
customers
find
that
out.
call me. The same customers will call every single week. Hey, how do I do this and how do I do that? How do I get my handgun license? Google.
Yeah, Google it.
The information. Go to my website. The information's
Mhm.
right there. I can lead you to water, but I can't make you drink. But the criminals, they're finding out how to do the thing.
They're
Mhm.
and they're going to do it regardless.
And
They're
they're
going to do it.
They're going to do it
You
regardless.
cannot legislate crazy.
You can't. Exactly. Like I said, we tried it.
That's a nice
And it
good saying
did not
there.
work
I
out.
like that.
Yeah.
We
That's
tried
true.
it for
That's true.
decades, and it did not work out. And, talking about things like that, it's one of those, especially with modern technology. Hell, it was right out of Austin that the first printed gun happened,
Absolutely.
where it was 3D printed. You remember the guy?
And now 3D printers
me
are
and Cody
everywhere.
Wilson are very good friends.
Exactly.
With Defense Distributed.
Yeah.
And so Cody is one of the smartest people I know.
He
very,
is a brilliant,
very
brilliant
down-to-earth
individual.
person.
Yeah, he's
Um,
great, just like you.
Very down to earth.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we have drinks sometimes. We sit, we talk, we joke, we laugh, and he can talk. With the smartest people in the world, he can bring it down to the
Yeah.
dumbest person in the world.
Exactly.
He's very, very good at what he does, and so that technology is there. If
Yeah.
you want to get yourself an 80% lower receiver, you can buy that and have it shipped to your house. 80% lower receiver. Anyone can do that, and then you can get yourself one of the Defense Distributed Ghost Gunners, which
Sure.
is a milling machine.
Yeah.
You can take that 80% lower receiver, put it in the milling machine, that Ghost Gunner 2, and then it will run that program and make you a 100% lower receiver. You can build your AR-15 at home,
Mhm.
and a convicted felon can actually have a gun at home.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and he can make
that's
more
just
than
it.
one.
And that's what I brought up on somebody's timeline. Richard Adams, I love you, Richard, from Breach TV. I was like, the sad fact is, with a minimal knowledge of metal shop and a $500 metal bender from
Freight Harbor.
from Harbor Freight,
Yeah, Harbor Freight.
you could absolutely. And I meant to bring it with me. I didn't bring it with me, but I had a toilet paper spring.
Mm.
And that's a pretty high compact spring, but you can quite literally bend your own high capacity magazine with metal, with sheet metal. You can go out and buy at any shop.
You don't have to do that. You just buy it.
Yeah, well, no, you can buy it, but hey, some states 50 rounds and over, things like that.
You got people that are coming in from California, and they have their large capacity magazines and are taking them back. They have them. They know what the laws in California. Know they can't have them there, but they're getting them anyway because you know what?
They're getting them anyway.
Yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and not just that though.
When you're told not to do something, you're going to do it even more.
You can literally now sit down and print your own 100
You know what
capacity
happened
magazine.
when the world found out yesterday that we talked about the bump technology.
Yeah,
The fact that this
That's
guy
right.
possibly bump technology was possibly used
Yep.
in this particular incident.
and you were
Do you
one
know
of the
what happened
first people
yesterday?
to come out with that.
You know what happened? All the bump.
I'm sure they
sold
all
out
got
in the
yeah,
entire country.
yeah.
Today they're all sold out. Entire
And people
every
don't
distributor,
realize that.
the manufacturer's website, the main manufacturer that makes them, their website was knocked offline because they're getting too many hits.
And
many
how do you
hits.
feel
Too
about
many
that?
hits.
How do you feel about that? Quite honestly.
It is what it is. Whenever you tell people about something, you tell them maybe
Yep.
something's going to be banned. They get the idea something's going to be banned,
Right.
or they can't have something.
It
They're going to
backfires.
want to get it.
They're going to want to get
So by
3
the
or
time
4
you
of them.
figure out you're
3
going
or
to ban
4
it,
of them.
this is the United States of America. By the time you figure
Yeah.
out it's banned,
Yeah.
everyone's got one.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And like I said, it's not even the fact of you need a bump stock.
No.
You don't even need a bump. I mean, there are some things that make it easier.
It's like I
sure,
say, when you
but
say no to something, they're going to want it.
I mean,
They won't know how to put it together, won't know
Yeah.
anything about it.
But I got it.
that Hillary Clinton's probably going to become our next president. She's probably going to ban
Yeah.
AR-15s.
Yeah.
And there are people buying ARs and they didn't know
Yeah.
anything about it. Now that they were trying to sell them after she lost.
yeah. Well, and the fact is, AR, it is a semi-automatic fire rifle. It is no different than the regular 30-30 that you go out and buy at friggin', Academy Sporting Goods. Lord
what I
forbid,
had when I
don't
was
go
growing
out
up.
and do it there.
No, go to your mom and pop gun store.
Go to a good
go to
and
the
proper mom and pop gun store. Not only
the
that,
reason you want to go to your mom and pops
Do
because
it.
when it comes to Academy, when it comes to these other big, huge gun stores, things like Sandy Hook and other things like that
Yep.
happen. What they did was they pulled the AR-15s down off the shelves, and they went with the narrative. They were afraid. Your mom and pop gun stores are going to be there for you. We're on the front lines. We're defending your Second Amendment rights. When all these big gun stores, Walmart,
That's
everyone
true.
else backs down and they're afraid, your mom and pop's going to be there to have your back.
well, not only
That's
that,
good advice.
It's also the fact of, like we said, AR does not stand for assault rifle.
It's Armalite rifle.
It's Armalite rifle. It's a brand name, folks.
Such a misconception on that.
And that's just it. There is so many misconceptions when it comes to gun laws, when it comes to gun registration. I mean, people think that you have to have a license to go out and buy a gun. You don't have to have a license.
And
You'd
be surprised the information that people don't have.
Even with CHL,
Right.
and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on, because you are a CHL instructor. Not only that, you offer some of the most affordable CHL in the state of Texas.
Yes.
$65 a person for the class, folks.
It's really affordable.
It's like my wife and I talked about it the other day. We got to come talk to you and take it because it's absolutely amazing. But with CHL, what people don't understand is that you can't just go out and buy a gun at the pawn shop and open carry in Texas. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about the open carry rules in Texas and the laws regarding that.
All right, so back in 1995, the state of Texas came up with the concealed handgun license.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2016, we actually changed it to the license to carry handgun. So an LTC, which means that when you get your license to carry handgun, you'll have choice. You will be able to conceal carry your handgun or openly carry your handgun with a handgun license from Texas or a license that Texas recognizes.
Yeah.
All right, so if it's concealed, meaning that you can't see it by ordinary observation, it needs to be concealed. If it's in the open, it needs to be in a holster that fits in your belt, or a shoulder holster if you're going to openly carry your handgun. So
Fully visible.
that is correct. So if it's fully visible, it needs to be in a holster.
And being in a holster, does that mean it has to have a thing over it, to where
It
you...
doesn't have to have a strap, a thumb release, or something that's going to keep it in the holster, but you should. Doesn't have to, but you should, because it's in the open. So let's say I have my gun sitting on the front seat of my vehicle. All right, so I'm driving my car and my gun's on the front seat. Well, now that it's on the front seat of the vehicle, I need a handgun license.
That's right.
Okay. Also, it has to be the holster sitting on the front seat. A holster that fits in my belt or a shoulder holster sitting in the front seat.
That's right.
So if that holster does not attach to your belt or your shoulder, then it's illegal if it's in the open.
Yep. Yeah.
Understand?
It still has to be ready to carry the same way that you would carry it on your person.
Yeah, these being a holster.
It can't just
if it's
be
in the open.
Just can't be gangster with
Now
the gun.
let's say you don't have a license. If you don't have a license and you want to carry your handgun, you can actually have a handgun without a license in Texas at home.
Yep.
To and from your home, your vehicle. Inside your vehicle is a premises of control, your place of business. You can have a handgun without a license on a watercraft. That is a boat. You can have a handgun without a license in a travel trailer, camper trailer, truck camper, motorhome, horse trailer, living quarters. And it can be loaded.
Yep.
So let's say you want your handgun in your vehicle.
Right,
That handgun
right.
can be loaded in the vehicle. It just must be concealed in the vehicle.
Right.
Concealed means that
Out of
you
sight.
can't see it by ordinary observation. Right.
Yeah.
It can be in a box that says Glock on it.
Yeah.
It can be in a box that says gun on it. You just can't see the gun. It needs to be concealed in the
It
vehicle.
needs to be in the glove box. It needs to be in the trunk. It needs to be in a console.
Concealed.
Something like
concealed.
Concealed.
But maybe
Absolutely.
maybe to where you can get to it quickly, but still concealed.
Well,
Concealed.
yes.
Yeah.
And not
And you
only
don't get a
that,
license.
not only that, but it is proper and
Don't need a
clear.
license. That's a
It's proper and clear communication to the officers at hand as well.
Yeah, people just don't want to
it's-
see the gun.
Yeah.
They don't want to see.
But when you're pulled over,
Yeah, that's a question on that one. How the officer acts on that.
That's a big question,
Well, here's what you do.
especially with nowadays.
Let's say you're pulled over by law enforcement. All right, I don't have a license. I
Sure.
get pulled over. I'm gonna keep my hands in plain sight.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna probably turn on my inside light. Crack that window down, and then officer walks up to the vehicle, asks me for my identification. I hand the officer my driver's license, my handgun license, put my hands back on the steering wheel. If I have a license.
If you have a handgun
license. If I don't have a license.
Don't do too many movements.
Right. I'm just going to hand the officer my driver's license. All right. And you don't have to be forthcoming with the information about the fact there's a gun in the vehicle.
No.
If you don't have a license. If you have a license, you have to inform the officer
That's
that
right.
there's a handgun in the vehicle.
That's right.
A handgun.
Now, isn't that weird how that works? It feels kind of weird.
And Texas is still a state where, and granted,
That almost seems like it works in reverse.
It ain't gonna happen anymore because of modern day society. But it's still a state where you could have a shotgun rack in the back of your pickup truck with a shotgun or a long rifle and just roll down the road.
It's legal.
You could park in the middle of the freaking HEB parking lot with a shotgun in your truck rack.
I know it's legal,
whatever.
but I feel like lately, woo,
oh no!
you might catch more heat.
You're in trouble.
You're not going to catch heat, but people that don't do that because they're afraid someone's going to break into the car and steal their firearm.
Yeah.
But it's legal for you to walk down Congress Avenue carrying a
long
AR-15,
rifle,
an AK-47, loaded.
Yeah.
You don't need a license or any ID.
Just walk down the street.
That goes back to 1870 in the state of Texas.
That's
Whoa!
That's
With
right.
no license?
No license.
No.
Long gun, rifle,
Long
shotgun,
rifle.
AK-47, AR-15, loaded.
Walk down the street.
Walk down the street.
Any type of rifle that can be used for hunting.
Yeah.
Or shotgun that can be
Totally
used for
legal in
hunting.
the state of Texas.
Absolutely.
You can't be threatening anyone with it. You can't, don't flash anyone with the muzzle.
Yeah.
Can't cause alarm or anything like that. But that's totally legal in the state of Texas.
But the sad fact is, walking down the street with it is going to cause alarm.
No, we do open carry walks all the time.
We do now.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it alarms the public in
much
which
more.
that they alarm the local police, and then and then it becomes the issue. But it's more like they're the ones that aren't educated, the newer people, the people that aren't familiar with the law.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. And I'd like to spend the last few minutes, Michael, talking about CHL, talking about the difference between CHL and open carry, how the two relate, and how you go about permitting yourself for concealed handgun carry in the state of Texas.
All right, so you need to make sure you take a class. That class it's from 4 to 6 hours, and we do it from like 10 a.m. to 4. That's how we do it. And in our class, what we do is we cover all the laws in the beginning, everything, where you cannot take that handgun, what you cannot do with that handgun. The last thing we do inside the classroom is we take a written test. Don't worry about the written test. Everyone always passes the test. I've been doing this for 15 years. Everyone's always passed the test. Matter of fact, I only had one person fail the test in 15 years.
In 15 years.
Yeah, so if anyone else fails, you'll be the second. So in 15 years. Once you take that written test and we go out to the range, we shoot at the range. At the range, we're evaluating your proficiency, the fact that you're proficient with the firearm.
Yes.
And then once you do that, you get a certificate. You do the application, get your fingerprints taken, and then boom, you get your handgun license.
And that's just it.
2 weeks.
You get your fingerprints taken. You're registered into a system. And not just that, but something that a lot of people don't realize is the regulations regarding caliber.
Yeah.
Not just that, but the regulations regarding revolver and semi-automatic pistol.
Actually, that changed back in September 1st, 2013.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Really? So that changed. So it doesn't matter if you shoot a revolver or a semi-automatic, you can carry both now.
Okay, great.
Right. So you can carry both. And also,
semi-automatic.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can shoot a revolver in class or a semi-automatic.
Yeah, because previously it was the fact of if you qualified with a revolver,
you were carry a revolver.
Exactly. If you qualified with the semi-automatic, you were licensed to carry both.
Not
Not anymore.
As of September 1st, 2017,
Ooh, just
you can
recent.
shoot with a .22 caliber.
That is recent.
Julie wants to know if you failed the test, Steve.
Steve-O, did you? Hey, I'm ready to join the class. I don't know how good I'm going to do. I hope I'm not that number. I hope I'm not that number 2 guy.
Yeah. but there
I'll
are a
study
lot
hard.
of things that people don't realize. And even before open carry, it was the fact of anywhere that you went that was 51% sale of alcohol or more, you could not carry
Hey, I got a
firearm.
question. What? Okay, if somebody takes the 10 to 4 class and everything, and is a they ace it or whatever, and does that make any difference? Say like now they go into the gun shop, they're gonna go buy a gun. I guess is there any difference? Say like does anybody get rejected at that point? Like,
Okay, so once you take the class, you get the license. Say you get the license. When you walk into the gun store to buy a gun, you still fill out the paperwork, but then they write your handgun license information down in the paperwork. We don't call the FBI to do a background check. Your background check's already been done.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it's even faster for you. So
Ah.
instead of 10 minutes, it's 5.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because you're
That's
already
cool. That's
registered
cool.
into the system,
Yeah.
they're going to register that sale of a firearm to your CHL license number.
And actually, that paperwork stays in the gun store.
Yeah.
So the only time that paperwork comes up is if your gun is being used in a crime or stolen.
Sure. Or reported stolen, actually. I mean, because unfortunately, too many people do not report their guns stolen.
So
and that's just a sheer
so
fact.
basically, if they're cleared with the class, taking the class, and then they're cleared pretty much at later on buying a gun, pretty much.
If they're cleared with getting the license, then you can buy a gun.
And what are some of the
But not
restrictions?
not vice versa.
Yeah. And
Because you may be cleared in buying a gun, but you still may not clear getting the license.
okay.
Ooh,
And
that's tricky.
yeah. And that's just it. What are some of the restrictions that come into play when it comes to getting your CHL, things like that?
When it comes to getting the handgun license, you can't owe back child support. You can't owe any money to the state of Texas. That's Comptroller Tax Collector Political
Yep.
Subdivision. You can't be convicted of any Class A or B misdemeanor conviction. You can't have any conviction in the last 5 years. No Class A or B misdemeanors. And then everything
In
else
5 years, right?
in the last 5 years. And then
Yeah.
everything else is going to be on the list as far as buying a gun.
Yeah, and that's just it. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is they think that it varies from state to state, but in
Mhm.
Texas at least, like Class A or B misdemeanor, like that
Reckless driving,
that's
Yeah.
nothing.
Class B, DWI.
That's literally nothing heavy. That's not a hard charge.
I was going to say that's not felony.
That's not even a
driving while
felony.
your license is suspended
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah, like
Wow.
like to have a Class A or B misdemeanor is nothing major. So the fact that you would be denied a conceal and carry permit, the fact that you would be denied sale of a firearm for a Class A or B misdemeanor, I mean, that means that there is some fairly decent regulation in place with stuff like that. And now here's a question that I've seen from more than one person that I know who has private sale licenses, stuff like that. How often do you see people actually foolishly answer their questions utterly wrong on a federal form?
It happens, and if you lie,
on the regs?
if you lie on the form,
Yeah.
they can prosecute you for lying
Yeah.
on a federal document. So you make sure you answer those questions. Because a couple things have happened. I've seen in my lifespan. I've seen someone come in and fill out a form, get delayed, it says processing.
Yeah.
Processing. All of a sudden, APD shows up to arrest them because they have a warrant for the arrest.
Whoa, that processing was calling
Active
911. Yeah.
But then a lot of times it does that, and it takes a little while for them to go to proceed. So, but I've seen that happen once.
When
where-
you see it say processing for a long time, do you think like, oh shit, it's
Oh,
yeah.
No, actually, I don't. Honestly, I don't think anything.
Yeah.
Because it only happened once, but it has happened.
It has.
Yeah.
And so, they can be very good in what they do if they want to.
Now, what about say like a friend of mine? I think he had a high class misdemeanor, but it was a family violence deal.
Okay.
Like since it was a high class misdemeanor, not a felony, is it still the 5
The
year?
fact that it's family violence is what's going to bar him
done.
ever, forever.
Yeah, bars him forever.
And unless it's through private sale or something like
Correct. After 5 years.
that.
Oh, after
And
the
that's
5.
the state law.
Yeah.
Not federal.
Oh.
Federal government says, hey, you can't have any.
Yeah.
Because I've had someone do something and try to buy a gun. They were supposed to have one, and they came up with denied. They were delayed at first.
Sure.
So you get delayed, and let's say after 3 days it doesn't clear.
That's
You're
at
still
least
delayed.
an orange flag.
You can actually walk out. You can go into the gun store, walk out with the gun. So then I've had it where it was like 30 days later they came back and they said, okay, denied. 30 days later. And
Wow.
so by that time, that person's walked out.
Yeah, like
Right.
they're already in possession, bro.
Then they want to know and say, hey, did they go leave with the gun?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah, they left.
so they left. So then the ATF goes and knocks the door down and says, hey, we need all your guns.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Or we're going to prosecute you for lying on the form.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
So which one is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
do you
going to
wanna
prosecute you on federal felony.
Right. Either we prosecute you for lying on the form or you give us all your guns.
holy shit. You want my
Yeah.
water gun too?
And that's just it. Like, a lot of people don't realize that these regulations are in place. And like I said earlier, when
Damn.
it comes to high capacity magazine rounds or high capacity magazines, the ease with which they are made, with a basic knowledge of metal bending and a basic amount of technology, even with a basic amount of printable
Yep,
technology.
that 3D
nowadays.
printer's out there.
You know, like, all you got to do is have an old picture with some dimensions and put it into a 3D printing software, and it'll print it for you.
Hey, get you some Bitcoin, go out there and buy what you need.
Well, and that's something interesting that I noticed
Yeah.
about you guys is that y'all actively accept Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
What?
You can't fit us into a box.
Nice.
We're
What?
the first gun store in the world where you can walk into the gun store and buy a firearm using Bitcoin cryptocurrency.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, have you had that happen?
Oh God, it happens. It happened 3 times today.
Wow, that's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah,
And
people
what
do all the
what
time.
led you to going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole
We
with
want to
that?
keep up with technology
Yeah,
because and think of Bitcoin like this. Okay, it's a foreign currency. Think of it like that. It's a currency of another country.
yeah,
So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to accept that currency, then I'm going to actually exchange it for dollars.
yeah.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
Think of it like that. That
Yeah.
type of concept.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what we do.
Totally.
That's all
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
Once the exchange rate is right,
Yeah.
we change it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might even make a little
Well,
bit on it.
No, we don't do that.
I can't thank you enough for coming in tonight, Michael. I want to have you in whenever we're talking about this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Whenever we're talking about gun regulations, whenever we're
Yeah.
talking about issues in the local LGBTQ community.
Absolutely.
Maybe it'd be a happier situation.
Well, we hope that it would be a happier situation. This was a very somber moment to have you in, but I thought a very relevant moment to have you in because the last major U.S. shooting that happened was Pulse nightclub. The community in which you're involved with, the community in which you live in. Not only that, but the job and the knowledge that you have. Like, you're an expert in your field. You have to be expert in your field to be able to, sell and transfer firearms, but not only that, to be able to educate people in CHL, to be able to educate people in what it is to carry a firearm, proper firearm etiquette, proper firearm use, legal firearm use, things like that. You literally have to be expert in your field to be able to sell those services, to be able to sell firearms, stuff like that. And I thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where they can go, Michael, to find Central Texas Gun Works, your CHL classes, Log Cabin Republicans, and of course, beyond anything else, Texas Accountable Government. Because good God, people, across the board, like I said before, red, blue, purple, I don't give a damn.
Yes.
We need to hold them accountable. And I mean, I'm
Yes,
I'm
I
a
agree.
lifelong gun owner. I was shot to learn to shoot
I think
at
social media
5
makes
to 8
it.
years old, but I'm not a NRA freak. I'm not an NRA supporter in a lot of ways. I think that straight up lobbying should just be ditched in all halls of Congress. That is what stymies our government beyond belief.
Lobbying is bribery.
And from what I know of you, even as a gun store owner, even as a rightful defender of the Second Amendment, you believe the same thing.
Absolutely, because this year, thanks to us, Central Texas Gun Works, shockwaves are actually legal in Texas.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that the Mossberg Shockwave or the Remington TAC-14, which is your short, shotgun. What happened was people were interested in those. They were being made. The Mossberg is made in Texas, and so I actually grabbed one of those. Went to the Texas State Capitol, showed a couple of legislators. I said, "Hey, this gun is made in Texas, and we can't own it under our Texas laws." And so I got with Texas Law Shield, which is a firearm law firm, and they, wrote a little change in the law. Gave it to the legislators and they approved it, and we were able to within 30 days we were able to have the Mossberg Shockwave legally in Texas. So firearms like that.
Yeah.
We work hard in
You work hard on
and what goes on in Texas and Texas laws. It's all about Texas freedoms, their right to our firearms and stuff of that nature. So with Texas for Accountable Government, which is you can go to tagtexas.org.
Yep.
I'm the executive director for Texas for Accountable Government, holding our government at bay. And the mission of TAG is, for one, it's a transpartisan political action
That's
committee.
right.
We're packed.
It's across the board, man.
And we're
it is
headquartered
purple.
right here in
It's
Central
purple.
Texas. TAG was formed with the ambition of reining in the intrusive and expanding reach of the government, which threatens to invade every facet of our lives. So, that's kind of our mission. And also, I'm the president for Log Cabin Republicans of Texas. We'll LGBTQ.
Visionary
Exactly.
group in America, and something that so many people are not aware of. And the fact that it is a huge movement.
Right.
Huge movement within the Republican Party, within the Republican faction, that so many people are not aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that organization there, we're reaching out to the LGBT community, make sure that the gay community has rights as well.
That's right.
And so, with Central Texas Gun Works, we're on the firearm side of it. So with all my organizations, my company, and everything I do, my radio show, which is called Come and Talk It,
Yep.
which is a gun talk, radio show that we do
Absolutely.
on Sundays. With all that stuff,
No wonder he's good at talking.
no, it's all about our freedoms. It's all about an individual liberty is what it's about.
Well, and it's about properly using the law, understanding the law, understand, and not just that, but understanding your responsibility as an individual within the law.
What's about? I want all couples, gay, married couples, to protect their marijuana plants with guns they purchased with Bitcoin.
Through Bitcoin.
I love you so much, Michael Cargill.
That's what it's about.
It is, and it's interesting to me because I am someone who is totally
Keep people educated.
in all aspect. A teacher, someone who wants people to understand things from multiple points of view, from a rainbow perspective. Like, you cannot see white light and not understand that it's made up
Of everything.
of Roy G. Biv. It's made up of red, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple.
Yes.
Like, it's made up of every one of those. And that's what the visible spectrum is. And to not see the visible spectrum of the conversation of society
Always.
and understand that it's broken down by bits and pieces, to understand that there are nuances to it. It's not just that blinding white light. There are subtleties there.
Just trying to free you a little bit.
That's it.
And always, more guns equals less crime. So go out and buy yourself a gun.
I like that.
Well, and I'm a big proponent of the fact of you need to protect yourself. You need to know how to protect yourself. If not by firearms, by things like Krav Maga, by other means,
I'd like to
you
take
need
that.
to know how to protect yourself, how to protect your family, how to
I think I might
be
ace the
self-aware
class.
of the situation around you. I perfectly understand people
Michael's
that,
like, you too
that have
nice.
it, and I am one of those people that, like I said, I utterly see the point of my shotgun, my rifle, even my pistols that I own. I am not a proponent of fully automatic firearms. I'm not a proponent of assault rifles. I'm not as someone who was brought up hunting.
I think
it was the concept of the sniper concept. You're supposed to take that animal down in the most humane way possible. You should not need a 20-round magazine for your hunting rifle.
Don't look in his eyes.
You should not need a 25-round magazine for hunting.
That's Bambi, but don't look in its eyes.
And no, I'll look in his eyes all day. They're beautiful and his meat tastes amazing. I have no problem looking down a scope and looking into Bambi's eyes and going, my God, you're beautiful and you will taste delicious with bacon wrapped around your back strap. I have no issue with that. But I do have an issue with 25-round capacity magazines, 30-round capacity magazines, things like that.
So there was a lot of deer that day.
I don't personally find them necessary as a trained shooter, as someone trained to use a firearm. I don't find them necessary. You should be getting the job done within 1 to 2 rounds. You need maybe 15 rounds in your clip. If you're talking a staggered clip on maybe, again, I know some Glocks, some older Glocks hold 20
and then
on a
what
staggered,
you feel is necessary is your opinion on this.
But yeah, if you're talking like a 50-round drum magazine, what the hell are you shooting at other than fun that you need 50 rounds at a time?
Hey, you could be in L.A. at the L.A. riots.
You could be.
There you go. I was going to mention that earlier.
And that's one of those things that, oddly enough, when you look at the laws in Vegas, when you look at the laws in Nevada, there are no limitations onto that. There are none of that.
And this has never happened before. This is the first time this has happened.
That's just it.
And you just cannot legislate crazy.
Exactly. You can't legislate crazy. Well, it's the first time that anybody's ever used it. And I'll tell you why, Julie. I'll tell you why, Bambi. Because yearling doe tastes delicious. That's why.
Bambi makes good deer sausage.
Shoot Bambi. Leave Bambi alone. We love Bambi.
That's okay because Bambi actually got away with the mom that got
it. Was the mom. It was the dad that got it originally.
Yeah, and then
the mom.
Bambi alone. Don't mess with Bambi.
But you wrap that backstrap in some bacon. Damn, it's delicious.
You better cut it off, Julie. You might tear up.
Not a lot of people understand the fact that there are laws in place. There are things in place. It varies from state to state, though.
But it's actually remembering the laws.
The regulations are.
Actually remembering. People are forgetting things. That's what it seems.
Well, true.
It seems like things kind of like rewriting movies and stuff. It's like
rewriting. Let me ask you, as a responsible gun owner, as someone who teaches responsible gun ownership, responsible gun usage, and owns a firearms store. What would you say is a reasonable clip size? What would you say is your you personally, what you use?
100-round drum.
Okay.
I have one right underneath my desk.
Told you. Reasonable.
Nice.
It's different.
If something happens,
It's
I hook it up to my AR and I'm gone. You walk into that store to rob the place, I got a 100-round drum.
We rolling.
Nice.
We rolling hard.
We get you going out the door. We get you in the parking lot. We get you going down the access road. I'll get you on 71. I will catch your ass on I-35.
He won't need to call APD.
No. I'll need them to clean up the work.
Yeah. Maybe the coroner.
Yeah. and I mean, for me, it's one of those, I see the utter use of guns as a self-defense weapon. I see them as a tool, as I was taught to use them, as a means by which to gather food.
Absolutely.
Things like that. And responsible gun ownership, responsible gun usage is what needs to be taught in America. It's what needs to be understood. And people need to understand the fact that
self-defense will never go away.
Well, self-defense is never going to go away, and the desire for self-defense.
So basically, living out in the woods and using your gun for
your security is one of the 5 driving forces of humanity.
So even if somebody comes up and says, "Well, when do you live out and you kill all your own food and you need your gun to survive?" Maybe not. Maybe it's not that world anymore. But you will never need not to have security.
Yeah, and I'm not one that's going to say that, hey, if you're a gun collector, if you're somebody who's into firearms, that you shouldn't be able to do what you do, things like that. But there should definitely be, and there are laws in place to stop automatic firearms. There are laws in place to stop assault rifles, things like that from entering the general public, like Michael Cargill said, without federal regulation. Like once you go to buy any of those controlled things, you go onto an immediate list. And that is directly right now what the ATF is exploring with this gentleman in Las Vegas. Things like that is where they're searching serial numbers. They're searching the background of
They
the
already know
weapons.
everything. They
How,
know
oh,
everything.
yeah, no,
They
that's
know
just
all-
it. Like they knew it within moments.
Right.
And like you said,
When
they
it comes to a trace, a gun's been found in a crime, one of those guns, they go to the manufacturer and say, hey, who did you sell this gun to? The manufacturer tells them within seconds, I sold this gun to this
Right.
distributor.
yeah.
Right.
They go to the distributor, hey, who you sell the gun to? They type it in a little system.
Yep.
Say, hey, I sold the gun to Central Texas Gun Works. Hey, Central Texas Gun Works, where do you sell this gun to? I type in my system. It says, hey, I sold this gun to you.
Yeah.
And that's the system you need at your store.
Yeah. That's why
No,
we have
it,
it.
it
We have it.
exists.
We have
It's
it. It
there.
exists. So we actually, we type in our system and
Yeah.
it tells us, I can tell you who I sold the guns to. Whatever. I had a young lady call me up this week and one of her guns been stolen.
Oh, wow.
And so she called me up. She goes, hey, one of my guns were stolen. Here's the serial number of the gun. And the officer said that the gun that I had was stolen. I said,
What?
I said, so what are you saying? We sold your stolen gun? He said, yeah. I said, okay. And I was teaching class at the time. So once I took my first break, I came out of break and I said, give me the serial number that that you have. I ran that serial number. I said, okay, that's not one of our guns. That's not a gun that I've actually had inside the store. I said, what type of gun is this? She said, oh, it's a Glock. I said, okay, first of all, when it comes to Glocks, Glocks start with a letter, with letters, 3 letters, and then numbers. So it's always 3 letters, and I know exactly how many, a certain amount of numbers.
You know it like
When it's a certain type of firearm, they're consistent with the serial numbers.
Yes.
So I immediately know the serial number that you gave me started with a letter, and then it was like 7 numbers. That's not a Glock serial
that's not
number.
even a
Yeah.
Glock.
I said, so you're looking at the wrong thing. So then I said, take a picture of the box and send it to me. So she took the picture of the box and sent it to me. And then when I looked at the box, I said, this is your serial number here. I said, so I typed that serial number
okay.
in.
She had
And
it
I
wrong.
said, boom, we've only received that gun once. That gun came from this manufacturer, this distributor. And that was a brand new gun they got from Glock. So it wasn't a used gun. There's no way that gun was stolen at all.
Yeah.
It's a brand new gun. And she goes, oh. I knew that. When I got it from you, it wasn't a star. I said, of course. She goes, I got my handgun license from you. I said, of course.
Of course.
She goes, well, why? I said, well, why did you think that was the serial number? You gave me the wrong serial number. Well, that's what the officer said. I said, don't listen to police officers. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
Come to me first.
They don't. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
They're not gun experts, even though
Come
they're
to me
police.
first. I'll give you the
No,
correct information.
they're looking what's on there, and believe it or not, it's much like the difference between
Isn't
the
that
VIN
amazing,
number.
though?
Well, it's much like the difference between the VIN number of your vehicle and the serial number of the engine.
Exactly.
The VIN number of your vehicle does not necessarily match the serial number of the engine.
Or when you have an officer that reads your Miranda rights at the moment you're
But
walking into jail.
On that note, as we wrap up this evening talking about this horrible tragedy in Las Vegas,
Yes.
the laws regarding firearms, not only in America but state by state, and how those things are enacted, how those things are actually handled state by state. Michael Cargill, as we go out, tell everybody where they can go to find your information, find information
Take classes, buy a gun,
CHL, find classes on gun education, as well as Log Cabin Republicans and Texas Accountable Government.
Right. So for us, Central Texas Gunworks, you can go to our website, which is centraltexasgunworks.com. You can find us on Facebook by typing in Central Texas Gunworks. You can go to our website and get your license to carry handgun course. You can take a beginner class. You can buy a gun from us. Our online gun store is the cheapest online gun store in probably this state.
I'm not even going to lie, folks, because I was looking at some stuff the other day and looking not only into CHL, which is some of the most affordable. I'm not going to say cheap because cheap to me is a bad business
You
word.
call it Michael
It's-
cheap?
No,
I'm just
no.
joking.
It is some of the most affordable
Yes.
CHL that you can get, man. When you're talking about $65 per person
And it's
per
not
class.
It's not even that. It's the fact that you're getting your handgun license you're getting that information from the place that the media comes to get their information.
That's right.
So come to us, get that correct information, so we can, you can give you everything that you need to protect yourself and also protect your family.
Right.
And then with Log Cabin Republicans of Texas, if you're, interested in getting into the LGBTQ community, you're a conservative, please join Log Cabin Republicans of Texas. Go to our website, LCR Austin, and check us out there. As far as being, keeping your government accountable. If you're concerned about what's going on around this state,
yes.
If you're concerned about police
Wasn't
accountability.
that in the Constitution?
Exactly.
Something like that.
Exactly. So, if you're concerned about those issues, then you're concerned about Code Next, which a lot of people don't know what that is. It's coming to Austin. If you don't know what Code Next is, you don't know what gentrification is, you're concerned about these things, you need to join the Texas for Accountable Government. You can go to tagtexas.org and check us out there.
Fantastic. And once again, Michael Cargill, thank you so much for coming in tonight, clarifying so many points about federal gun regulations, state gun regulations, what it is to own firearms, what it is to be responsible, what this case right now is. Even breaking it down with the difference between automatic and bumping and stuff like that. We can't thank you enough. We'd love to have you on a regular basis to talk about these kind of issues,
Absolutely.
to talk about this kind of stuff, because I find it extraordinarily important. And unfortunately, I find so many people woefully uneducated about the actual facts.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. So as always, more guns equals less crime. Go out there and buy yourself a gun.
Well, and make sure to take care of yourself. Make sure to take care of your family. And like always, everybody, like we say on Thinking Deeply, make sure to take care of yourself and the others around you. Until next time, Michael Cargill, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show, for being here this evening, and talking about this hugely important topic that is facing our country.
Knowledge.
Until next time, everybody, this is the Dudes and Beer podcast. Find us online, dudesandbeer.com, dudesandbeer.com/live. Go out and check out Michael Cargill's Central Texas Gunworks. Until next time,
Thanks
everyone.
for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. To listen to our audio streams and chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for both Android and iDevices, available on the Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.